welcome back to The Movies Made Us Do It. Me and Matt are back. How are you, Matt?
Pretty good, sir. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. Very busy with work at the moment, but managed to watch a film this week. Watching a lot of TV, actually, lately, which has been quite nice.
I'm watching a lot of really bad sort of comedies and sort of sitcoms,
nice
which
escapism.
isn't very good. Not very good for the show, but
well, you know, it's escapism, isn't it? I mean, I've been watching like just nonsense. I've watched like God knows 26 episodes or something now of Ultraman Nexus, which I've been going through.
Oh yeah. Any good?
Yeah. So I mean, it's you know, it's much the same.
Is that the Netflix cartoon one, or is...
No. This is probably like the sort of one of the better, if not maybe the best Ultraman series, like other than maybe the original, if you really love the original. But of course, you know, the trailer, 2000s, early 2000s.
Okay, I definitely haven't seen that one then.
No, but the trailer for Ultraman, Shin Ultraman was like, oh, it was so good, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna, you know, crack out the DVDs and start rewatching that.
Yeah, that's cool.
So, you know, and it's just fun, isn't it? It's just nice escapism. I can just sit here and it's just mindless fun. I mean, there is obviously a storyline going on. The version I've got is the Japanese version. It's the Japanese release of the DVDs. So the translation's horrible, like hilarious in places. It's so bad.
Yeah.
But you expect that.
I always find it fascinating that, like, almost always the best translations are the ones done by fans.
Well, the thing is, I think you'll get good translations if you get. If there is such a thing, I don't even know if there is such a thing. But if I got the UK release of the DVDs, they would probably be fine, because I've got, for example, I've got the later, not the manga one, the later one of the Guyver animated series. So I got that.
Yes.
When that first came out in Japan, because I'm a massive Guyver fan, I was like, I want that.
Yeah,
I want it.
Awesome.
So I ordered it from Japan. And similar with Ultraman Nexus, the subtitles are terrible. The subtitles are so bad, like they get names wrong, they switch names halfway through. They just don't give a shit, right? And then now I've got the English UK versions of them, and the subtitles are perfect. But I'm assuming it's the same. I'm assuming it's the same either way round. Like if a Japanese person came to the UK and bought a UK film in the UK, I imagine that the Japanese subtitles would be as dodgy as the English subtitles are, because I think
probably true.
The country of origin, they probably just don't give much of a shit outside of that, and they're like, just farm it off to whoever can cheaply translate all this, and we won't really care too much.
Yeah, that's true.
I assume that's the case, but yeah, it's just nice brainless fun. And then I did.
That is one of the things with things like the Guyver and stuff. It's the whole episodic like fight stuff. It's literally great. It's just Guyver turns up. Gribbly turns up. They have a fight. Episode over. I mean, Guyver did have more of a through line and a story going on later. It did.
But like Ultraman is just like, it's just like every week a monster to fight, and you know what's going to happen pretty much for the most part. You know how that's going to go. I mean, there's an ongoing story through Ultraman Nexus, but for the most part, it does involve, you know, the humans fighting for a bit. Then Ultraman turns up and fights the monster and wins, and you know we move on to the next episode, which is it's fine. Yeah. And then the other thing I've really got back into was I realised they've got Life on Mars on Netflix, and I was like, do you know, I haven't watched that for ages. So, oh god, it's so good. I forgot how good it is.
That as well. I recently started watching Life on Mars as well.
Good.
I absolutely love that show.
The thing
is, so clever.
I adored it when it came out, but I never bought it on DVD, and I never watched it after its release. I watched it on release, I thought it was fantastic, never went back to it, and now I'm just wondering why, because it's so well written. It's fantastic.
It is. It's really great, and Ashes to Ashes is really great as well.
Do you know, I've never watched Ashes to Ashes, so Ashes to Ashes,
really,
it's next on my list.
Because it's 80s.
Yeah, I know.
You know, it's like 10 years. It's like 10 years later, sort of thing. It's. I mean,
I think there's something.
There's 3 seasons on that one, and so, I think it does feel slightly longer and slightly unnecessary in parts, but they really go into more of the sort of mythology of what is going on and what Jean is and what's going on with Jean's character and stuff.
Oh, that's
it's
good.
really fucking good. I really love that show.
Gonna watch it as soon as I finish.
Plus, I fucking love Keely Hawes.
Yes, yeah. But yeah, I'd forgotten how great that show is. The TV girl is still terrifying.
Yeah,
still terrifying.
Yeah.
I love that. That's just so good.
And they, in the second in Ashes to Ashes, it's a there's a Piero that keeps turning up, like the David Bowie Piero from the Ashes to Ashes video.
Yeah.
This Piero keeps turning up in that, and it's like, oh, that's fucking creepy as fuck as well.
Fantastic. Yeah, I'm definitely going to check it out after this.
Yeah, I would. It's great. I would. Yeah, it's probably not quite as good as the first one, but it is still good.
I think at the time it just felt a bit like, I'm not sure we need another series like this.
Yeah.
It's like the series felt really nice and contained and done. Plus for me, I think the big appeal of it was just like, I love the idea of this. Ignoring the wider story, I just love the idea of a modern day detective going back to the 70s and basically having like the Sweeney kind of, it's like it's just hilarious. That contrast is amazing.
It's brilliant. I think it's actually still relevant to right now, and how people don't quite understand the past.
Yeah,
it's like. This is perfect for that. It's like like you said, it's a modern detective who goes back to the 70s.
Yeah,
and he's like this sort of. They haven't sorted this DNA thing out yet. They haven't done this sort of like detective sort of work yet. They don't have like this,
and just like the procedural
database.
Yeah, like following procedure and stuff, and like I absolutely love the gov character, the governor. He is or the chief. He is amazing. Like, he's so good. Such an asshole.
Yeah,
he's brilliant.
And all of the other characters are great as well. Even though it's like you sort of like even the I can't remember what his name is. The guy with the tash and the curly hair.
Yes, I can't think of his name. But
dickhead.
Yeah,
but you end up liking him. He's sort of you
end up liking all of them for the most part.
Yeah, you do.
It's a tremendous show.
It is a great series.
Yeah.
And I did see the odd episode of the American reboot. Have you seen the American reboot?
I haven't, but apparently that one is fucking awful towards the end.
It's terrible.
Apparently
it
apparently literally ends with them going to Mars.
Yep.
Like it literally they took it literally.
Yeah, they completely changed what it's all about, and they made it basically it's he's asleep in a ship going to Mars, and this is what the computer's done to like entertain him, I guess, to keep him like going or something.
Yeah,
I think.
that's really just defeating the point for me. It's just not. Yeah, I mean, fair enough. Each to their own. It's not for me, to be honest.
No.
I think Life on Mars is just a wonderful, wonderful show. It was perfect for the length it was, and it should have just stopped there. I mean, I will watch Ashes to Ashes though, because I've heard that's fantastic.
I do recommend it. It is good.
Yeah. So what about you? What have you been watching?
I've watched the entire series of It's a Sin.
Oh, I've heard that's
which is
fantastic.
The Channel 4. It is absolutely fantastic
and heartbreaking.
It's really fucking good. It's Russell T Davies written, and it's just fantastic, and it really sort of shows, people's attitudes towards the AIDS crisis, and how it sort of people's perceptions of it changed, and what the government were doing to people that because they didn't understand it, and it's fucking brilliant. The performances are completely top notch, really, really good.
I have heard
that. The sort of main character, I think he's a lead singer of, I think it's the Years and Years. I could be wrong. I've actually seen him in a few other things, but only as very minor parts.
Right.
Like he was in a couple of episodes of Penny Dreadful and stuff.
Okay.
But he is absolutely sort of fantastic as this guy who's well, I don't want to spoil anything, but he's just really great. It's like a group of people who sort of have all come together. They're all from sort of like different backgrounds, but they've all got this thing in common. and they all live together, and they're in the growing up in the 80s, and it sort of starts in I think 82, and it goes right up to sort of 90.
Oh, nice.
And it is absolute. I can't. Just brilliant. I can't recommend it enough.
I have
it's such a good show.
Literally heard nothing but praise for this show, so I'm excited to watch it. And Russell T Davies is, pedigree, right? He's got real pedigree.
Yeah, absolutely. He's fantastic. I mean, Queer as Folk was one of the best
incredible.
shows of its of its time, and of there was nothing like that when that came out. It's a great show, and also he's written some of the best Doctor Who episodes ever.
Certainly the rebooted series, for sure.
It being a Russell T Davies thing, there is a Doctor Who reference in it.
Nice,
which made me smile when it eventually turned up. I was waiting for it. It happens. It's sort of like later in the series, and I was just I said to my wife at one point, I'm surprised he hasn't done any Doctor Who thing.
And just as you
and
say
I thought, and I said no. I thought maybe he won't do anything, but he does. He has a Doctor Who.
Fantastic.
But it is honestly, it's. I think it's now the fourth most watched Channel 4 program ever.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
It does look absolutely fantastic. Did Channel 4 produce Chernobyl as well? Was that for Channel 4?
I think that was HBO, and it might have been Channel 4. I don't remember.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe just Channel 4 had the rights over here or something. Or maybe I'm just imagining it. I don't know. I'm just thinking of amazing shows.
Sky over here, wasn't it? Was it not Sky over here?
Maybe it was. Yeah,
because I don't think it's been on terrestrial TV over here yet.
Oh right, okay. Oh.
Although The Terror is coming to terrestrial TV, which I don't know if you've seen that. That's bloody brilliant.
Oh, okay.
That's really good. I recommend The Terror. That's really, really good.
Well, what films have you watched lately?
Well, I'll start with Space Sweepers.
Okay, I was tempted to see that one. So, the trailer, I was like, this could be really fun, or it could be really ropey, and I couldn't decide from the trailer. So I'm curious. What's it like? I
wasn't quite sure either, but I thought, why not? I'll give it a go.
Yeah, sure.
I thought it looked good enough.
It does look like it's going to be a fun ride, regardless.
Yeah. So it's directed by Song Hee-jo, starring Song Joong-ki, Kim Tae-ri, Son Kai-jin, Richard Armitage is in it, which was a sort of slight shock when he turned up, and it's got now what was the little girl called? She's fantastic, Yi-rin Park. So it's set in the year 2092, and basically Earth has become almost uninhabitable. It's absolutely fucked, and this company called, I think it's UTA or UT something, they have created these basically orbiting platforms that go around that all over, sort of above the Earth's, above the Earth, and the further up you go, the better it is, sort of thing. So it's your usual sort of all the good rich people, they all live at the top, and all the scummy people are all at the bottom. And you're introduced to Tae-ho, who is he's obviously a lower level guy. He's looking for the body of his daughter, which you discover at some point throughout the film that through a big space accident they got separated and she got blown out into space. Right. I'll come back to that because there's a fucking weird thing with that later on.
Okay.
And basically, what because of debris and space junk and all that sort of thing, there were these people called space sweepers who basically they get money for clearing up the space junk before it destroys, the orbiting places or anything else.
Yeah, disrupt shipping lanes and stuff, I guess.
Yeah, exactly that. And Tae-ho is the pilot of the Victory. And it's like this big ship, and it's like it's almost feels like a typical sort of late 80s 90s anime series where you've got you've got your your hotshot pilot with a past.
Yeah.
You've got your drunk
all the anime stereotypes are here.
Yeah, you've got your drunk captain. You've got your ex-criminal with a heart, and you've got a robot with gender issues.
I mean, it is pretty much Cowboy Bebop, without exactly the mercenary side, I guess. But yeah,
almost exactly that, right?
Uh-huh.
So they, in the process of picking up some drunk at some point, they find a little girl, and there are these bulletins going out all over that say this little girl is a robot, and she basically is a nuclear device.
Yeah.
And if anybody sees her, like, don't approach her, sort of thing, inform the authorities, blah, 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 blah. So they discover this little girl, and they're, of course, at first they're completely petrified that she's going to take them all out and stuff. But she's this sweet little girl who draws pictures and like, she's like quickly like warms to them. She loves, she's like she gets really attached to them. And they basically think, well, they're barely surviving here. They
sure.
Even the junk they get is like it's going on their debts as soon as it comes in, sort of thing.
So she might be nuclear, but she's also presumably worth quite a bit of money. Is that the thought?
There's a scientist. They see that there's a scientist that wants her back. Supposedly the scientist that made her, and they decide that they're gonna basically not tell the authorities, but they're gonna like meet this guy and sort of sell her to him to get shitload of money from this guy.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you've got Richard Armitage's character, who is Sullivan, who is this. He's like the rich messiah guy. He's the guy he's terraforming Mars, and he's all about the future and that. But there's clearly something severely wrong with this guy, and he's not a nice guy at all. So what I will say with this is I really enjoyed this movie.
I'm really glad. It looked like it could go that way, to be honest. It did.
It looks great. The performances are really, really fantastic. It's really funny. All the characters, obviously, they're cliche as fuck, but they're all really great. They're all really funny. They all sort of have their moment, and it looks fantastic. Actually, the CG's great. The for the most part, the cinematography is really, really good. Like I said, you're not going to sort of see anything that you probably haven't seen before, really. It's especially if you're an anime fan, it just feels really like a sort of an anime series.
I don't know if it's just the pandemic and just like the amount of time this pandemic and the lockdown's been going on and all the awful things in the world that's been happening in the last couple of years, but I just find those kind of cliches are annoying me less and less, and I just find them quite comforting now, to be honest. I'm like, this is fine. Well, it's fine.
I think the thing about cliche stuff is because it's how well you do it, isn't it?
Absolutely, it is.
What you do with what you have. Yeah. And I think they do a really good job with what they have. There's one thing I will say is there are some sort of storyline or story parts that they don't explain very well. Right. I'm not sure whether it's a translation thing or whether it's just some of the cuts and editing is a bit dodgy. They're a bit sort of like all over the place, which is annoying. But there are certain things with the story, like the thing with Teiho's daughter. He's paid for this. He's got this like watch on him, or that will tell him when either they found his daughter or when she's leaving. So she's supposedly in the orbit of this place, wherever it is she is. And they've only got a certain amount of time before she leaves the orbit. But they don't really explain why that is, or what it is that they're getting the body for, or it's very odd.
Okay.
It's hard to without sort of trying to spoil anything, or like it's hard to explain what I think it is, or what But there are some definite sort of story sort of beats that you'd think I'd like a bit more. I'd like to have had a bit more explanation as to what the fuck's going on there.
Yeah, maybe like another episode just to kind of flesh some things out.
Yeah, that kind. Yeah, it did kind of feel like there's they do cram in quite a lot. The world building is quite good, to be honest. But I really enjoyed it. It's if you want a really sort of fun space opera, this is your thing. It's a really fun movie. I really enjoyed it. It's like I said, it's cliche ridden. Some of the dialogue is terrible, but it's really enjoyable. It's just real fun, And there's a great thing is like it's the sort of even though it's a Korean movie, they basically have like a universal translator thing. So there are like Russians, there are Americans, there are English, there are like all these sort of other nationalities, like Africans and everything, and they basically just speak. And obviously you get like subtitles for certain people and stuff like that, but they all sort of understand each other because they've all got this thing. So there's no sort of like people speaking and people not understanding it. They just sort of
and they do it. They do it in the way that you hear them in their original language, but the characters understand each other.
Exactly.
Rather than the Star Trek kind of bullshit of like, well, they're speaking in an alien language, but for some reason it lip syncs with what they're saying in English. And
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
I always thought that was that.
Is pretty good.
Sorry.
So yeah, the world building is just great.
Oh, that's good. I'm really glad. I must admit, I was really tempted to watch that and just didn't get around to it in the end. So
yeah, I would definitely recommend it.
I will probably watch it on the weekend because it does look like a lot of fun. I must admit.
It is. It is a lot of fun. Like I said, it's obviously it's not the best thing sort of ever for this sort of thing. But like I said, it's a great space opera, and if that's what you're looking for, I can't recommend it enough. It's good fun.
Yeah.
What were you saying about the translator, by the way?
I was just going to say, it always amused me the universal translator in Star Trek that they're lip syncing perfectly to English and it doesn't. It's one of those weird situations where you're like, well, this doesn't really make sense when you break it down because surely their lips would be moving in their original language. Even if it's translated, but then you think how awful and how difficult the show would be if they actually did that. It would just be unwatchable. It's just one of those things you have to accept and just be like, it's fine.
The thing that's always confused me with the universal translator is so when they're speaking, obviously it translates in that. What does it do when they actually speak Klingon? Because like there are episodes where they never address it. They just speak Klingon, and everybody's like, "Well, why isn't it translate? How does the universal translator know not to translate that?"
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It makes sense. It makes sense when it's Klingons around Klingons. Or when it's a Klingon addressing a Klingon, but then sometimes like Worf will insult someone in Klingon, and you're like, surely that would just say asshole. Like, why would it come out in Klingon? It's like such a bad swear word in Klingon that they just didn't even translate it. It's always been like just one of those funny things. I find it quite charming though, to be honest. I'm like, it's fine, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, what else are you gonna do? It's
you could do the out of sync lips and stuff, and I think that would work really well in a film, but I think it would get so annoying if it was in a show all the time.
It would look like a bad kung fu movie, wouldn't it?
Would be terrible. It would be terrible.
I mean, the other one that is the other thing of that is the Doctor Who. The TARDIS translates everything for you.
It's just
exactly, which is great.
At least that's always consistent.
But occasionally it breaks down.
Yeah, it breaks down occasionally, but other than it breaking down, that is just consistent though. It's like it literally translates everything, including writing, like everything is just translated, and it's like, fair enough,
And with that, I guess it's on a brain sort of level, isn't it? So that it's literally your brain is just reading it so that you know what it says. It's just that you just know because your brain is telling you that.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the TARDIS does that for you.
That's what the TARDIS does.
Which is kind of brilliant, but also weird at the same time.
It's living technology that's far, far beyond our understanding, and they can kind of leave it at that and get away with it, I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
Star Trek couldn't do that because it's a bit more like grounded in like, well, they're humans and they're using their human technology of the future, and it's like not so much.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, I don't remember where the translator is on the earlier ones, but it's supposed to be in the badge in Next Generation, isn't it?
I think so, yeah. And then obviously on the bridge, it's just translated through whatever.
The computer, I presume. I think.
But yeah, I've always found it quite charming. But no, that's cool. It sounds like a really fun film. I'm gonna have to check it out.
It's good fun.
So I watched Willy's Wonderland. It's the only.
So did I.
Oh, okay, that's good. We can have a. Oh, we're syncing up nicely lately because we never, people that listen to the show, we never discuss what we're actually watching. Apart from maybe occasionally when I've seen something amazing, I'm like, oh my god, this film's amazing. Aside from that, we rarely discuss it because I think it's more fun when we just go in blind and discover what each other's watched.
Yeah, I think that too.
Oh, well, I'm glad you watched this as well. So, directed by Kevin Lewis and starring Nicolas Cage, Emily Toster, and Beth Grant. Well, it's very, if you've seen the trailer, that is the film.
That's what you're getting.
That's what you're getting. So, Nick Cage plays a silent badass. Who's
just listed as the janitor.
He's listed as the janitor, yeah, and he is basically driving his sports car when he bursts a tire, and he's picked up, but is unable to pay for the repair because he uses card, and the place is like, well, we just use cash. We were going to have the internet, but they never installed it or something. Fair enough.
Stopped working, I think he says, doesn't he, or something
just
like that.
Stopped working, yeah. So he's like, okay, you can. If you will stay the night in Willy's Wonderland, this amusement park, this kids sort of Chuck E. Cheese kind of thing.
Yeah, it's birthday venue, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like a sort of restaurant.
If you can
venue.
tidy the place up and stay the night, then in the morning, I will bring your car with the tires repaired, free of charge. You basically you do the work, clean up, stay there the night, and in the morning, we'll fix your tires. So he agrees. And it's basically about him being in Willy's Wonderland overnight, which has been... basically, it's now taken over by possessed animatronic robots. So basically, there was a cult, and before the police could kill them, they all did a ritual suicide and possessed the various animatronic robots within Willy's Wonderland. So it's like Chucky, but on with 5 different people did it into animatronic robots. That works. Some voodoo stuff happened, and that's that. So, Nicolas Cage.
You've also got Emily Toster, who is Liv, who, when we first introduced it, she's trying to burn the place down.
She is, yes. So she's trying to burn down Willy's Wonderland when Beth Grant's sheriff turns up and scolds her and takes her home, basically handcuffs her at home. By the way, Beth Grant, one of my favourite parts of this movie. I really like Beth Grant,
she's great.
And it's great to see her in a role. To be honest, I just like Beth Grant whenever I see her. So I was like, oh, it's good to see Beth Grant. So she's determined to burn the place down, and her friends are going to go burn Willy's Wonderland down because they're aware of what's been going on. Meanwhile, Nicolas Cage is just haplessly heading into this place to be locked down for the night to clean up, not really knowing what's going on. And obviously the animatronics come to life, and it's up to Nicolas Cage to deal with them.
When they turn up. And there are some things that I absolutely love in this movie. So what I love is...
There are things I love and things I really don't like.
I love the whole
silence.
He's obsessed with this punch. Yeah, he hasn't got. He doesn't say a single word. In this
I
movie.
love that he doesn't say anything.
It's
Actually really
brilliant.
amused me.
He's got this punch that he drinks sort of constantly. He's just got he seems to have an endless supply of this punch.
Yeah,
that he drinks.
It's like an energy drink.
And what
right?
I love the whole thing with the Tex guy says to him, "Make sure you take breaks."
And he does. So he literally has an alarm on his watch.
His alarm goes off, and he takes like a 10-minute break in the kitchen with his punch, and he
plays the pinball machine.
Pinball.
So I agree. This is one of the funniest parts of this movie. Is just that Nicolas Cage's character goes to this place, not knowing that it's full of possessed animatronic robots, tasked with cleaning the place and taking regular breaks. And when the robots attack him, he defeats them one by one, but then continues to clean the place and just do his job.
Exactly.
Like he just literally does everything they've asked him to do. He just does it. No, he doesn't attempt to escape. He doesn't leave. He's just like, no, you've told me to do this, and
I love it.
I'll do it.
He defeats the first robot, and he bags the robot, cleans it up, goes to leave. Like, goes to sort of take it outside and finds that the door is barred. And then he just goes, meh, and just walks away and leaves the bag by the door and just carries on with his job.
Yeah. And after each...
At first there's this brilliant bit where he's like sweeping... he seems to be mopping the main floor.
Yeah.
And there's just crap everywhere. He hasn't swept anything at this point.
No.
And it's like, why is he mopping like that? And you do sort of think, oh, he's doing such a fucking awful job at this. And then all of a sudden, he isn't. It's like, oh my god, he's like managed to get rid of all the graffiti.
It's like
all
deepest clean you could have possibly paid for. And they paid Nick Cage. There's a scene when he's cleaning the toilets, and it looks like they got Nick Cage to genuinely clean the toilets. Because, like, he literally... It's like fast forward. It's like a sped up scene. But he literally does clean, like, practically the whole toilet in this one shot. So, yeah, I mean... It's you get what you sign up for with this movie, for sure. It is Nick Cage on... I mean, Nick Cage is on great form in this movie. I will say that Nick Cage is in great form.
He's fantastic. It's another one of it's another one of those characters that he plays. It's kind of like a combination of, like John Wick and the character he plays from Drive Angry.
Yes.
It's that character that he's basically playing. Only this time he doesn't speak.
Yeah. And you get loads of like epic shots of him with you get all the boot shots. He's like steps out of the car and you just see his boots, and he's just wearing sunglasses for like the first half of the movie. Doesn't say a word.
It's great.
I will say that the cinematography in this film
shot of him looking up at him through a doorway at one point.
Yeah,
and that is a great shot. It's just some really, really good shots in this.
Yeah, for the most part, I think, especially considering it was it's got a $5 million dollar budget. Low budget movie. The cinematography for the most part I thought was actually really good.
Yep.
I got a little annoyed with the every time there's a fight scene we get ludicrous lens flare, and that kind of annoyed me.
That was fucking annoying.
But that aside, I actually thought the cinematography was actually pretty good in this film. Surprisingly so, considering.
Some great shots, really nicely sort of set up, real sort of good camera work for the like you said, for the most part, other than the bloody flare. But it's pretty good.
It certainly reminds me a lot of the Banana Splits movie, which I think I've reviewed on this show at some point.
I still haven't seen that one yet.
It's very similar.
I'll get round to it at some point. Yeah. And of course, obviously, it's it's very Five Nights at Freddy's as well. So you've got that sort of.
It almost feels like a rejected Five Nights at Freddy's script, doesn't it? It's almost like they approached the people and they were like, oh, I'm not interested in making a Five Nights at Freddy's movie. So they were like, okay, screw it, we'll get Nick Cage and just make our own. Because it's not a horror movie either. Because I thought it was a horror movie, but it kind of doesn't go that way in the end, really. It kind of becomes less horror than...
It's got decapitations and murders, so it's pretty
horror-y. And you've got the most stereotypical slasher victims.
Yeah.
That tend...
Oh, and that's one thing I will say. The kids there, awful.
Apart
Their
from
acting is
Emily,
terrible.
I thought Emily
Except
was
for
okay.
Emily yeah, she's really good.
The rest
She
of
has
them are awful.
the biggest eyes I've almost. She's almost
like,
got Battle Angel Alita
I was just
eyes.
going to say that she's like Battle Angel Alita for real.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she was great actually. I thought she was really good. The rest of them utterly forgettable.
Terrible. The dialogue is awful, and their acting is just terrible. But then again, they are just fodder, so.
They are. They're very cliched, and they do very cliched things. I mean, they all know. Yeah. They all know what's going on, so they know that there's this dirty secret in town that basically they sacrifice people to Willy and his animatronic possessed robot friends. So they're going to burn the place down. But then two of them decide to have sex in the death place for no reason all of a sudden. And it's like, okay.
In the room. What was the birthday room? Or was it Willy's special place or whatever?
Yeah, Willy's special place or something, yeah.
And it really is that sort of like, oh, you're that dumb. Okay. Fine, we're doing that, aren't we? Oh, all right. But I think that's the thing with this movie is it knows exactly what it is. It's not trying to be anything else.
No, it's not. It is unashamedly what it is. In fact, my real criticism of this movie, to be honest, really comes from the fact that I didn't think they went far enough. Like, I think they should have really owned it and gone really stupid. Because I was like... And I don't know whether it's just because I've watched a lot of really bad movies, but I was like... I know, I about... quarter of an hour into this movie, I was like, I think I've already worked out what's going on. And I think at the end of this movie, Nicolas Cage is himself going to turn out to be an animatronic person of some kind. Because of the way he was behaving sometimes, I was like, is he a robot as well or something?
I did wonder that myself, actually. I did think that.
But he didn't go that way. And I was like, I thought they were going to make him into a robot himself, but they didn't. Because for a lot of the time, the blood coming out of him looked really dark, and I was like, oh, maybe it's oil, and like...
Yeah.
But no, he's just a badass.
I mean, Susan's... We've kind of spoiled it a little.
Oh well,
anyway.
Yeah. There's nothing to spoil. I mean, if you've seen the trailer, that's true. The movie.
One of my favorite scenes is they. Now, which one is it? Oh, it's when they're in the arcade room, and they're fighting the chameleon robot.
Is that while Nick Cage is on his break?
Yes, literally. They're about to fight. Him and the girl square off against this chameleon robot, and his alarm goes off.
And he's like, "No, gotta take a break."
He stops it. He puts a knife in her hand, and then he fucks off to the kitchen.
It's amazing. See, scenes like that are hilarious. Like there are some really nice scenes in this movie.
There were some genuinely hilarious moments in it. It was really, really funny.
I would say that towards the end, I did start getting a little bored because it was kind of becoming a bit repetitive, which is why I think they should have ramped it up a little further towards the end myself.
Maybe they needed a bit more variation in exactly how the robots were doing what they were doing.
Yeah, but I it's not a terrible movie. I enjoyed it.
No, it's not. I
had fun.
Like I said, it knows what it's doing, and it's doing it relatively well. To be honest, it was.
I think if you've watched the trailer and you decide to rent this movie, if you don't like it or you hate it, not that you don't like it, because I think it wasn't as good as I hoped it would be. But I think if you really dislike it, then I don't know what you were expecting. Because if you've seen the trailer, that's what you paid for.
I think that's exactly what. Yeah, that's exactly what I would say. Yeah.
Can we talk for a moment?
If you like the trailer, if you like Nicolas Cage, then you're probably going to love this movie.
Can we talk for a moment? I think hands down, my favourite scene of this movie is the random pinball dance scene where Nicolas Cage just starts having a dance.
Apparently that was completely improvised by Cage as well.
Of course it was.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, I didn't even need to read that. I was like, I bet he's just gone and done that. And they were like, fine, No, I you know what? I had fun, and I was surprised for the budget, how good it looked in places, lens flare aside.
I mean, the animatronics were actually really good.
Yeah, and they actually look like they could have been quite creepy under different circumstances. I had fun.
I think if it wouldn't have been if it would have been slightly less cartoony,
yes,
it probably would have been creepier.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
I almost would have wanted it to be like
really lean into the creepy stuff enough. I don't think.
No, I would have almost wanted it to be like a film of two halves, where like the first half you have the teens in there and it's actually scary with these things, and then in the second half Nick Cage turns up and just completely fucks them all up in the way that he did in the movie. You know, so you get a bit of both, because it definitely errs on the side of comedy more than horror for sure.
Yes. Definitely. And I think that what actually I think would have been better, which I didn't quite get in the movie, was what would have been better is if when they came in, because the animatronics, they're basically like a band, aren't they? They're on the stage.
Yes, it's the band that sing Happy Birthday. Yeah.
So they sort of come at him one by one, don't they?
Which is a bit weird.
But when they're doing that, the rest of them has just stood there. And I thought, wouldn't it have been better if they just disappeared?
Yeah.
And you don't know where they're coming from or when they turn up or anything like that.
They do that a little later. Some of them disappear.
They kind of do that.
But at the start it's weird, because at the start they're all just stood there watching while Nicolas Cage completely screws up one of them and just lets them.
Yeah. Which is very peculiar. But I think it would have been better if they would have just sort of like disappeared, and then you don't, because to be honest, you would have thought, well, one of them, I just killed one of them. They're all probably going to come at me at some point. Why don't I just destroy them all now?
Yeah.
You know, it did feel a bit weird. So I think it would have been slightly better if they would have just, tweaked that somehow.
I agree. Like if they'd scattered when he started beating one of them up, that would have been more interesting, I think, and a bit more suspenseful. So this movie's got a $5 million budget. And I really wonder how much of that budget went on Freebird.
I was going to say, I love it. Well, that is one thing is I love any movie that's got Freebird in it.
I do. I mean, it did unfortunately remind me of a much better movie, but yeah, I
was wondering if it went on that I was wondering if the rest of the budget went on the advertising for the car.
Yeah, that car does get some prominent
because that
advertisement.
car is like lovingly sort of shown. And sort of like it's like an advert for is it a Charger? I can't remember what car.
I don't know what it is. It's a gorgeous car though.
I think it might be a Charger. I'm not sure, but it's fucking awesome anyway.
It is. It's a really nice car. So yeah, overall, I mean,
that is one thing I will also say is the actual original songs on here are actually really good. They're awful like kids songs. They're really, really well done.
I've had the "It's Your Birthday." I've had that stuck in my head all day today. I watched it yesterday. It's been stuck in my head all day.
Same here. So, I have had that fucking song stuck in my head.
Which is the point.
I think that's the most haunting thing about this fucking thing. That song stays in your head for like for days.
I mean, I would say this film is probably better than the Banana Splits movie, purely because mainly because of Nick Cage, to be honest. And I would say that if you take Nick Cage out of this movie, it wouldn't be anywhere near as watchable.
I think it would probably be terrible without Nick Cage, because Nick Cage definitely makes this movie,
and you can tell that Nick Cage is having a blast. He's loving it.
Totally.
He also produced this.
I think he just liked the idea of not having any speaking lines.
Overall, I can't say that I didn't enjoy myself and I didn't get my money's worth. I enjoyed it. It was fun. Thought, like you said, I think the cinematography was surprisingly good for the most part. Especially for the budget. It's a fun little movie, isn't it? It's a bit of nonsense.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's a fun, silly sort of knockabout horror movie.
I'm not going to come down too hard on a movie that's about Nick Cage beating up animatronic robots that are possessed by. I mean, come on,
that.
Like it's a bit of fun.
What else do you need?
I just think,
like I said, it's not. It tells you what it is, and that's what you're going to get.
Yeah. I mean, I would just, if it was me, I would have leaned heavier into it and just gone a little further, gone even more ridiculous. But especially towards the end, when my attention started waning, I think if he turned out to be an animatronic himself, that would have just been like the
Well, we don't know that he isn't.
True.
He might be.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, hilarious. I did have a really good time.
I mean, I do. I don't want to spoil the end completely, but I love the end.
The end is great. Yeah.
I thought the end was quite fun. It was. Like, okay, fine.
You kind of saw it coming, but it was great.
Yeah.
Good fun. So Willy's Wonderland. Watch the trailer, and if you like the trailer, you'll probably have a good time.
Yeah, exactly that. That's exactly it.
Have you seen anything else?
I have.
Ooh,
I watched News of the World.
Ah, yes, you said you were going to watch that. What is News of the World like?
So, it's directed by Paul Greengrass, starring Tom Hanks and Helen Zengel, and it's set in, I'm guessing, the 1780s, maybe 1790s. It's after the Civil War, anyway. And you're following Tom Hanks's character, Captain Kidd, who is I've just seen the thing. It's 1870, so only 5 years after the war, I think. So he was a captain in the Confederate Army, and now he basically makes a living by going from town to town reading the news to people for a couple of coins at a time, sort of thing. And while he is traveling from one town to the next, he comes across a upturned wagon and a lynched body, and there's been some kind of attack, and he finds a young girl who is in Native American dress. She's got blonde hair, so she's clearly not native, but she's in native dress.
Mm-hmm.
And he finds papers in the cart that say that this person in this cart was transporting her to her family. She has an aunt and an uncle. Her parents' farm was attacked by Indians, and they were killed, and they abducted her. So she's grown up as I think is it Kiowa? I think it might be Kiowa. Yeah, it's Kiowa. She's grown up as a Kiowa, so she basically only speaks Kiowa.
Right.
And some Union soldiers turn up, and he says, what am I going to do with her? And they say, will you take her to this town where there's an Indian agent, he'll sort her out, sort of thing. And he's like, well, I don't really, know how to do anything with kids and that. And it just, look, it's your problem, not mine.
Yeah.
They bugger off and leave him with this girl. And then he thinks, well, okay, fine. So he basically takes her, and he decides he's going to he takes the town, and through a series of events, he decides that he's going to take her to her aunt and uncle at the other side of Texas, or whatever it is, like a 6-day ride or something, I think, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
And while they're traveling along, he's like stopping at towns, and he's doing his job, he's reading his thing, and things happen. There are altercations with some ex-soldiers. There are things happen that storms, all sorts of things happen, and it's just them traveling across sort of Texas to this girl's aunt and uncle. And I absolutely adored this movie.
I'm so glad. It looks fantastic.
It's
because even in the trailer, the cinematography looks tremendous.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a pure sweeping Western.
Yeah, which is the best kind. If you're making a Western, that's exactly what I want. And
I think people will find it long and maybe a little boring. I didn't, because I think it's doing exactly what it should sort of thing do. It's an amazing. It's just a story about this soldier who didn't return home after the war. He through. I don't. Like I said, I'm trying not to spoil anything, but he basically just when you first see him, he's getting dressed, and to go out and speak to read the news, and you can see that he's scarred, and he's beaten up.
He's seen some shit.
You can, yeah, exactly, and you see through the course of the movie that not only is he physically scarred, he's really mentally scarred, and the journey they take with this young girl.
I assume this isn't a true story, by the way. I don't know.
I don't think so.
My American history is not great, so.
No, I mean there were obviously it takes its cue from a lot of historical things, like there were lots of girls and boys that were taken by the Kiowa, not just the Kiowa but other Indians, and they grew up as as Indians, and then later on when the plains were cleared, they found these kids and they tried to in their eyes rehabilitate them, which in most cases I think was worse than if they'd have just left them with the Indians. But Helena Zengel is absolutely captivating. She's a German actress. This is her first English language movie, which is funny because she barely speaks English in it. She mostly speaks Kiowa, which is brilliant.
Yeah.
But it's how they bond as they're traveling this distance, and how she too she's now lost two sets of parents.
Yes. Yeah.
Basically, the army cleared out her tribe. They killed her, Indian parents, and now she's completely alone again. She's had two hugely traumatic events in her young life.
In a very short life. Yeah.
Exactly, in her young life. And Tom Hanks is they are both massively damaged people in different ways, and it's also about communication and how we talk to people, and how how we perceive things, how we see the world, and how when he goes to a town that's they've kind of separated themselves, as it were. It's like a working town, and it's how the sort of the boss of this town sees these people, and how he's using and how he's promoting himself, and how he wants his Hank's character to promote him to the people there. Right. And there's a wonderful conversation that him. Because she speaks a little German. She remembers a bit of German, and like between the two of them, they kind of have conversations that they don't quite understand each other, but they kind of do. And she's telling him how she perceives the world. Like she's grown up with they see everything. For her, everything is all encompassing. And he says he sees the world as a straight line, and it's just you go that way. It's that, and it's a beautiful little conversation that just shows you how these two people, who are both damaged as hell, and how they completely see the world in two separate ways, but they come together.
Yeah,
I really, really loved it. It's so good. The performances again are fantastic. Tom Hanks, it's Tom Hanks.
He rarely misses, does he? Really?
Yeah, it's very rare that he misses. He's so good, and I mean,
In fact, yes. Hanks is one of those people. Actually, he's always good. Like even if he's in a bad movie, Hanks will give a great performance. So, yeah, it looks tremendous. I must admit, the trailer looked fantastic. So.
I mean, I will say you probably can guess how it's going to turn out.
Again, though, as the theme for today
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you know how it's going to turn out. It's the execution.
In this movie, it's purely about the execution and the journey and how you get to that point. It's, some of the villains are a little too cartoony, I would say, but then for the story they're telling, I think they kind of have to be. It's showing, how awful and cruel people can be.
Yes.
And yes, it's exaggerated, but I think it's exaggerated for the purpose of showing that, even with all these awful things, there are, good people who exist, and there are good things in this awful world, and I really loved it. I thought it's Greengrass has got a he's got a sort of a reputation for doing big action movies, because he did the Bourne movies and stuff like that. And
God, dude, I rewatched. That's come onto Netflix, all of the Bourne movies. I started rewatching those the other day, and in terms of the story, they're great, but fuck me, those movies started that shaky cam bollocks for action scenes. Oh my god, those action scenes have not aged well now. Oh Jesus,
have they not?
They're just so shaky. It's like, just show me the action. The thing is, I think when they first did it, it added that element of realism and it seemed okay. But now I'm so sick of that shaky cam crap when it comes to fight scenes that it just really annoys me. And I going back and rewatching them now. It's like, oh, Jesus,
I remember
the
fight scene where he's got the rolled up magazine. I remember that as being a really good fight. Does that not hold up?
That's the second one, isn't it? Or is that the first one?
Oh, is it the second one? I thought that was the first one.
It might be the first one. Some of the fight scenes are better than others, but there's a lot of shaky crap, and it's like, oh no.
Because I think.
But overall, they're fantastic films. It's just
for me, the worst legacy of the Bourne movies
is it killed Bond.
Is that it killed Bond? Yeah, it ruined Bond.
Yeah.
I think that's the worst thing about that, is because after that, Bond really couldn't carry on doing what it was doing at the time.
Except that Mission Impossible showed that you could.
And yes,
it's like, actually, there is an audience for this, and if Bond's not going to do it, then we'll do it with Mission Impossible. And those Mission Impossible movies got better and better the more they embraced being
sillier they got.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Just go
I completely agree with that.
Yeah,
I completely agree with that. But yeah,
I'm really glad this is a good film, though. It looks really good.
I think if you like big sweeping westerns in the sort of Dances with Wolves sort of
the epic
True Grit sort of style, nothing, not sort of, it's not all about the gunfights and all that sort of stuff. It's a real sort of journey movie. It's a real sort of for the most part two-hander of a film. I genuinely loved it. I think it's a really beautiful movie, and I think it's fantastic. And I cannot recommend this enough for anybody who loves westerns and loves great performances. This is a great movie. I really loved it.
Wow, I will definitely be checking that out. Like I said, the cinematography looks amazing even in the trailer. So
it is. It's beautiful.
Wonderful news. Well. Have you got any other movies that you've seen, or is that the final one? That's me for done for the day.
Well, Matt, movie wise.
Something happened yesterday that really surprised me.
Oh yeah.
I honestly went to watch a trailer that I thought was going to be a complete piece of shit. And,
I think I know which trailer you're talking about.
What fucking trailer?
Are you
Mortal
talking
about
Mortal Kombat? Yes. I know.
I put the trailer on thinking, God, this is going to be fucking awful. And then I saw, I went on YouTube and I was like, that's got a lot of likes. Okay. My God, what a trailer. I mean, as a fan of the video games, you couldn't ask for anything better. It's fantastic. No. It looks fantastic. It looks far better than it's got any right to be, basically.
Yeah, it really does. It really has.
It just looks incredible. I'm blown away by how they really went there with the violence, which helps because that's what you want from a Mortal Kombat movie.
I mean, they also, what I thought was fantastic is, I mean, it's the Red Band trailer, so it's
of course,
show you some. But the whole showing you how Jax lost his arms was like,
Yep.
holy crap!
Yeah.
Like, was like completely sort of like, wow, that was really fucking good.
Yeah,
I was really impressed.
It looks like it really does just look amazing. To be honest, I was absolutely shocked at how good this trailer was, and I'm surprised they haven't pushed it sooner. To be honest, promoted it more.
No, it's been a while, hasn't it? Since the last sort of thing that they sort of said about it.
And the cast look great. I mean, obviously, Sonata is always worth a watch, always fantastic. I mean, so we know that's going to be good. But I
mean, he elevates anything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So you know.
But I genuinely have. It's been a long time since I've been that surprised at how good something was that I was so sure. I couldn't have been happier to be wrong, to be honest. I was like, wow, this looks... I really want to watch this movie now, and I didn't think that would be the case.
The only thing I thought was in my brain, I kept waiting for the 90s like dance tune to start.
The score is there though. It hints at it.
It does at the end. It does. But I reckon totally we might get for the tune.
I reckon we might get a rendition
version of it.
I hope we do.
But yeah, the birthmark thing was a bit weird, and I'm getting.
Oh no, it was the line that made me laugh, where it was like, it's a birthmark. He's had it since birth. Like, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, like, yeah, obviously. What the fuck are you talking about?
That's how birthmarks work, funnily enough.
Thanks for confirming that. But
yeah, I'd forgot about that. That was quite funny.
Oh man, I just the violence.
Is he going to turn out to be Johnny Cage or something? That dude.
Because
I don't recognise his name.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, I really enjoyed that. So a trailer I saw that for a what looks like a spectacularly odd movie, but I'm completely intrigued, is a trailer for a movie called Jumbo.
Right, I don't think I know anything about that.
I think it's French. Please don't kill me if it's not, but I think it's a French movie. And it's about a girl, what looks like a lonely girl, who has conversations with fairground rides.
Right.
And they speak to her.
Okay.
Believe me, that I'm not doing the trailer any justice here. It looks batshit crazy, but weirdly beautiful at the same time, because I think it might just all be in her head, and she might be a very damaged young girl sort of thing. But the trailer, I sort of just came across it. I just thought, I wonder what the hell that is. That looks weird. And I watched the trailer. It's a really interesting trailer, and I'm completely on board. As soon as it comes out, I'm definitely watching it, because it looks so odd, and it looks so sort of original that I'm completely on board for that. Yeah, it's called Jumbo. I recommend you watch it. The trailer for it. It sounds fun. Interesting. So should we go sort of a few little bits and pieces?
Bits and pieces, yeah.
So let's start with something that annoyingly I saw just after our last movie show.
Mm-hmm.
Like 10 minutes after the show ended, I saw this. So Chloe Zhao, who is getting absolutely huge plaudits for Nomadland at the moment, which have you seen the trailer for Nomadland?
I have not.
It looks really good. It's basically about a sort of community of Americans that just sort of travel from around. You know, they're kind of like gypsies, I guess, as you would say, like in motorhomes and sort of stuff like that. And it looks really good. It's got what's her name? For hell's biscuit. What's her name? She was in 3 Billboards.
Oh, okay, yeah.
McDermott, Francis McDermott. It stars Francis McDermott. It looks fantastic, and it's won loads of awards, and it's getting really good applause. Anyway, she has been approached to direct a new version of Dracula.
Okay.
And it is going to be a sci-fi western.
Yes. Now you did message me about this, or maybe we talked about it immediately after we finished. I can't remember. But yes, so sounds interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how that's going to work.
I mean, to be honest,
what exactly they're going to do.
It sounds like he's got very talented people attached.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. I think I'm intrigued. I'll give him that.
Yeah, and I think it's Universal. So, it's. I don't know whether they're looking to start again, or whether they're just gonna have it as its own thing and not worry about a greater universe, as it were.
Yeah.
Because I think if you're gonna do a sci-fi western, it's gonna be hard to link that to the Invisible Woman.
Yes.
Or the Invisible Man, as it were. So. I mean, I don't know what to say, really. I mean, I'm kind of up for it. What hell, know?
Yeah, I mean, I can't, I'm up for it. It sounds interesting, I'll give it a watch. Why not? It's something different. It's a different take. I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to watch fucking Glenn Danzig's Western vampire movie this year, so I can't really...
Of course.
I clearly have no standards. It's fine.
We should mention Christopher Plummer died.
Oh, my favourite Klingon.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a real shame. I mean, what a talented man.
Absolutely.
Honestly.
I mean, he had a full life, so it's...
he certainly did, yeah.
And, what a bloody actor, in some absolutely, truly amazing roles, and pretty much working right up to the ending as well. So
yeah. Well, all the greats did, didn't they? I think all the greats do seem to work right up until the end. I mean, look at Christopher Lee, and
Yep.
Cushing looked very ill for most of his life. Most of the end of his career. They keep going. Those generations, they just don't quit, do they?
No.
But yeah, Christopher Plummer, amazing talent.
Most of them had by the time they got older, they had such gravitas that they could pull off the bigger, older characters, didn't they? So it's,
Yeah.
So Jack Black and Jamie Lee Curtis have joined the cast of the Borderlands movie.
Right, okay.
They have joined Cate Blanchett and Kevin Hart.
Right.
So that very odd.
That sounds like a bit of fun. People. I mean,
yeah, it's going to be directed by Eli Roth. So it's kind of got Roth for me is a little hit and miss, but it could be really interesting to see what Eli Roth does with Borderlands.
Yes, it'll be interesting. I mean, Eli Roth is generally pretty good.
Yeah, he's. I mean, I can't say I'm a big fan of all of his movies, but he's actually he's a director.
But when he's good, he's good.
Yes.
And yeah, why not?
Yeah. What else was there? There was another one. Where is it? Give me a second. I can't find it.
Do you know, I'm trying to think myself. There was something I was going to say just now, and it's completely gone from my mind.
Oh, we
got the Snyder Cut trailer, a new one.
The Snyder Cut trailer, yes.
Yeah.
What did you think?
Well, I am absolutely thrilled, especially considering the way that the studio treated him at probably the worst time of his life, and what a fucking mess they made of Justice League to begin with. I'm absolutely thrilled that he's got the opportunity to give us his vision, and I am looking forward to seeing it. I'm not convinced it's going to be very good no matter what you do with it, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm curious. I'm very curious. But there was a lot... The trailer certainly looks better. It certainly looks better than Justice League did, right?
Yeah.
I'll give him that.
Absolutely.
But it's...
I mean... I liked... I mean, I'm a big fan of the actual... those DC movies, except for Justice League, because that's...
I do think that they have got a lot of faults, but I do think they get... I think they get overly criticised. I think there are things that I really like about Man of Steel, and despite all of the crap that happens in Batman v Superman, I think there's a lot to like in there too. For all of its faults, I think it gave us probably, some of his motives aside, I think it's given us probably the best on-screen Batman. He looks like Batman. He's in the costume that I want Batman to be in. Ben Affleck is tremendous in the role. I think Henry Cavill is tremendous as Superman. It was a shame we didn't get to see Cavill be the Superman we want to see. But I think we would have got there, and I think we would have got there naturally. Yeah,
and I think the worst thing about that whole the way that those DC movies ended up was Snyder here. Like, everybody blames Snyder for how dark it is and how that, but that's what the studio wanted.
But also, it's what I want.
They said they said to him, we want it more dark. We want all the characters to be dark. So that's what he gave them.
Yeah.
And then when he gave it them, they didn't want it.
No. And I think the whole point,
they changed their mind.
I think the biggest mistake they made was not staying the course. They needed to commit and have the balls to commit to. It's like you've decided on this vision, stick to it. Because honestly, for all of its faults, and I'm not going to make out like Batman v Superman is a great movie, because it's not. It's got a lot of issues.
It's a movie I really like. But
there are bits that I really do like about it. I'm going to say that. But ultimately, I can see what he was trying to do. He started off from a very dark place. Superman has a very dark origin in this universe. Batman, by the time we see him, is broken and hate filled and spiteful. But the whole point is that by Justice League, Superman, when he returns, is the Superman we know, and Batman after Dawn of Justice has found hope again, and he's starting to become the Batman we remember. It's starting off dark and becoming lighter, and I do think they should have just had the balls to commit. And I do think that regardless of whether people hate Batman v Superman or hate Man of Steel, I think no one can deny that Justice League was fucking worse. Like, way worse. So I want to see his vision,
because Justice League didn't do anything for anybody.
No.
It dumbed everything down, and it just made it all worse.
It was like Alien Covenant. It was Alien Covenant.
Yeah, exactly.
It didn't satisfy either side of the fandom. It just pissed everyone off. I think the trailer was fine. It looks interesting. I'm massively intrigued as to how I'm more intrigued to see how the existing footage fits in with the new footage, and that kind of from a it's a very unique filmmaking situation that I'm very interested in. I think Jared Leto's Joker has been improved, but I still fucking hate it.
He looks a lot better.
He looks better, but fuck me, that line is awful. We live in a society. Like,
it's a purely pandering line to all those people, isn't it? It's that. Ugh. Yeah, that
we'll
was.
See. I'm definitely going to watch it though.
But I'm
100%.
I'm optimistic. I'm really sort of hopeful that I'm optimistic that it'll be good enough that they can continue with that.
I hope so.
Fred, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I think there's so many things in the pipeline at DC, you know what I mean, that may not collect to everything, or may connect to everything, or may reboot everything. It's all sort of up in the air at the moment, and I'm guessing that it's going to be this that kind of kills things or reignites things.
Yes.
So I'm hopeful. Honestly, I'm not convinced it's gonna.
I don't think it'll be
what it wants to do.
I don't think it'll be very good, but I'm very interested in seeing it.
I'm trying not to say that, but yes.
We'll see.
Yeah, I'm not convinced. I'm just hopeful. That's all. I'm living on the hope at the moment.
To be honest, as I said, I am just even if it's the biggest piece of shit ever, I am thrilled that Zack Snyder has had the opportunity to produce the film that he wanted to make.
Yeah, same
and
here,
it's not really
here.
that film anymore, is it? It's a new thing, but effectively, it's what he wanted to do, and for that reason alone, I will celebrate it. A studio listened to the fans. I'm happy just for that alone. That makes me happy.
I think it'll be nice to see more of that weird future bit.
Mm-hmm.
See,
I want a movie of that. I'd love a movie of that nightmare thing. That's
I'd like
great.
that. I think that would be awesome to see how Superman is where he is and how Batman got to where he is. I think that would be a good.
And the Joker's presumably doing his makeup in the post-apocalypse somehow. Why not?
Just do it as an Elseworlds,
Yeah. But yeah, it looks interesting. So is there anything else? John Carpenter's making The Fog 2. What is that all about?
I had not heard that.
Yeah,
really?
That popped up on Screen Rant the other day. It popped up and I was like, oh my god. And then I saw that John Carpenter is actually directing, and I was like, okay.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm kind of optimistic because John Carpenter's involved, but I cannot reconcile that with the fact that there is absolutely no need for a sequel to The Fog 2, and I don't even know how you'd make it. I had to check that it wasn't April Fool's Day, to be honest.
In the end, it's all done, isn't it?
Well, I can only assume they're going to tell a different story, like a new. I don't know. It's bizarre. I'm just scrolling through to try and find it now because I didn't imagine this. It definitely was an article that I read.
If you think that's odd,
okay.
The other one I saw is they are doing a sequel to Face Off.
Has it got the same stars in it?
Well, I don't think it's got that far yet. So from what I can gather, initially I think it was thought that it was going to be
because I know that obviously whatever his name is, Castor Oil or whatever his name is in that film, Castor Troy, he's dead, but that does not stop them in this ridiculous universe removing his face and putting it onto someone else. So they could continue.
No, there is that. So I think initially it was supposed to. Everybody was thinking that it was going to be a reboot, and then
fuck it. Face Off is like the most the best bad movie ever. It's so ridiculous.
Yeah, it's the stupidest, over the top.
Just keep going with it. Just keep going with it. Who cares? It's good fun.
Yeah. I can't remember who the guy is that they've got. I'm trying to find the article now.
Yeah, I'm trying to find
the guy who's basically in charge has said no. It's going to be a sequel. And I was like,
fair enough.
Okay.
Is it John Woo? Is John Woo making it?
No, it's not John Woo.
Okay.
If I can find the bloody thing here, that would help. But I can't find it. It's very annoying. Where the hell are you? This is good radio.
This is what you tune in for. Us scrolling through news. Well, let me just straight up Google The Fog 2. That'll probably.
Yeah, that's probably.
It's probably a good idea rather than just scrolling through Screen Rant for the. Right, so it's in early development. John Carpenter says the sequel to his 1980 film The Fog is in early stages of being developed, with the director himself on board. So I really, I love The Fog. Actually, The Fog is one of my favorite John Carpenter movies. I think the atmosphere in that film is untouchable. So I'm excited, but I just also feel like there is no need for this at all.
No, I mean they've already remade it, which
I'm assuming was awful. I didn't watch it.
It's not great, but it does do its own thing.
Well, that's good.
Which was sort of interesting. It was okay. I can't say it. It was great, but it was all right. It was an interesting sort of way of doing what they did. So but I don't. It's one of those things. It's like, how do you sort of make what was already great better? You just can't.
No, exactly. But I will. I'm intrigued. I will definitely. I will definitely watch it either way, especially with Carpenter. Directing. Cool.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
by all means, give it a go. But I mean, like you say, if it's going to be a different story, then it's probably not going to be the fog. Then is it? I mean, I don't know.
It has to be a different story because the story of the fog is concluded at the end and everything's resolved. There is nowhere to go with a sequel to the fog.
No.
So I'm assuming it's just going to be a different story involving the fog and some creatures living in it that want revenge. But then you're just telling the same story again, and it just feels pointless. I don't know. I'm intrigued, but I really don't know.
Okay, so the Face-Off movie is going to be directed by Adam Wingard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, who obviously is currently
got some
done
pedigree.
Godzilla vs Kong. So you know,
I mean, he did ruin Death Note, but we'll leave that aside.
Yeah.
Godzilla vs Kong looks great, so I'm
Yeah. Well, there's no sort of real details yet, so it's just we'll see what that.
Yeah, fine.
How that goes.
Yeah.
So we've got 2 versions of Buck Rogers coming.
Right.
So the thing with this is, one of them's being done by George Clooney's company, and I can't remember who the other one's being done by. But so the thing with this is right now. So the original story that Buck Rogers turned up in.
Right.
Is out of copyright.
Okay.
He's not called Buck Rogers in that story.
No.
But that story is out of copyright. So the owners of the rest of the Buck Rogers legacy doesn't have anything to do with that story because it's fallen away and so one company is going to be basically doing that, and the other company is going to be doing Buck Rogers based on the Buck Rogers stuff with the license.
Okay.
And I think they're trying to sort of get the one to cease and desist, but
they can't.
There's no exactly.
Yeah, they've got no right to.
So I think that's going to be.
Wow.
That has the potential to be a real shit show, doesn't it? Like 2 competing versions of Buck Rogers. To see it, that's going to be interesting to see what that is. I mean, I would like to see a good.
I would like to see a new version of Buck Rogers. I love the TV show.
Yep.
One of my favorite childhood shows.
Yep, same here.
Still to this day,
we've talked about this before, haven't we? So it's
and to this day,
it has a place in our hearts.
It really does to this day, and there is no fucking. I don't care what anyone says. There is no better spaceship than the Warhawk. Like fucking ever. I don't care how crap it looks today. That thing is the most awesome thing ever. The show took a nosedive in the second season, but we got Hawk, which made up for it.
Yep.
I think I'm all for more Buck Rogers. I'd love to see more Buck Rogers.
The second season is like Wilma Deering gets a hell of a lot less to do, and she becomes almost a background.
She is
character.
Pretty much a background character to Hawk, and it's the bromance then between Hawk and Buck. It's like move over, Wilma.
Yeah, we're not interested in you anymore.
We're not interested in you anymore. It's all about the bromance between Hawk and Buck.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, but, I'd love to see more Buck Rogers, so I'm up for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple of weeks ago, I think we were talking about they were going to do something with the Addams Family, and the rumor was that
Wednesday series, right?
It was going to be a Wednesday. Yeah. So now it's been basically confirmed.
Yeah.
It's the first couple of episodes will be done by Tim Burton, and it is going to be Wednesday at college, and it's going to be a sort of murder mystery series.
Yeah,
it's going to be her at college, so it's I guess it's going to be like a cross between the Sabrina series and Veronica Mars.
Yeah,
so I think that could be intriguing. It could also be fucking weird and kind of mess up the Addams Family thing, but it could also be interesting. I mean, I'm glad they've got someone like Burton doing it, even though a lot of his latest stuff has been a bit meh. But I'm intrigued enough to give it a go.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm up for giving it a go. Sounds fun.
I don't think there's any word on cast or anything yet.
No. But it looks like fun.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. Is that? I think that might be it. I'll just have a. Excuse me.
Bless you. I think that is pretty much it.
Yeah.
But Matt, what are we going to watch next time? We need a movie for next week.
Yeah, I'm not.
You're pulling a blank right now? Okay, we'll have a think.
I am definitely pulling a blank right now. I'm going to sneeze again.
Well, that's quite all right. Well, I think we're pretty much done. We're going to have a think about what to watch next time. And until then, stay safe. Thank you for listening. I don't know if you can hear that siren, but the police are coming to arrest me. So that's the end of that show. And we will catch you next time.
Bye.